Welcome to Trigger Talk, your place for everything first-person shooters like Battlefield, Call of Duty, and so much more. As always, I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and I'm joined by SammyBoiii. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm very excited for today's topic. So, yeah, I'm very keen to get stuck into it.
We are hyped, and we're going to talk about why. We're going to talk about Battlefield. We're going to talk about why we shouldn't be hyped and all that fun stuff. So let's jump in. Here we go. Here we go again. The gaslighting begins.
I am ready to
red
be heard
flags
again.
clearly in front of our eyes. We cannot see.
It just every time there's new Battlefield news, it reminds me of the Michael Scott meme where he's just like, "I am ready to be heard again." It's just so correct. Like I know. Look, I do feel more optimistic about this one, but I know there's a lot of criticism and stuff from the past ones that I can't forget about, and so I am prepared to just be in pain for the next few years, but
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm wrong.
A big asterisk that we're going to put on literally every discussion that we have is the fact that we have all been this excited before. And we've not just been this excited before once. We have been this excited multiple times before and have been disappointed multiple times before. We've heard all of the same things that they're currently saying right now. I saw someone say that Battlefield 5 did something very similar to what they're doing for Battlefield 2042, and we'll get to that shortly, but also did not take any of the feedback. So just because that they are getting feedback doesn't mean that they're going to use said feedback. So that is a big asterisk on this. We've seen something similar to this before. It's very easy to kind of garner that goodwill and then just not utilize it.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's different this time. Hopefully they've changed. I feel like they've changed.
Yeah, that's the thing for me with it. I definitely agree with all of that I've seen about people, because I'm in the same boat. I'm really excited and everything they've said and shown, I think it looks good, but I'm still in that boat of like, I will wait for them to prove me wrong on the negatives first. But I will say it does feel different this time, just based on the fact that I think they kind of know they can't afford, like Battlefield 5 had its issues, and then really that was the only bad one, right? So then we were going into the next one and we thought, Battlefield's always good. It'll be back. And then that one wasn't good. And I think that's the key difference is that this would be 3 in a row, which would be like, DICE could get shut down over stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's like catastrophic for them. So I think I do have a feeling that this time they are going to, like they have to be more, I guess, in tune with the community, and they do need to listen to us this time around. And also just because of some structural changes, like Vince being at the head of it, and just, all those sorts of things, I'm definitely more optimistic than I have been. But again, they need to prove me wrong first. I'm gonna be excited. I'm a little kid, man. I love games. I'm gonna be so excited when there's more trailers and stuff coming out, but I'm putting my big boy pants on this time around and going to go, like, I can be excited and also still be cautious this time around, because last time I wasn't. I just thought, oh my God, this looks amazing, it's going to be the best, and it wasn't. So I've definitely, much like they need to learn from the last one, I've definitely learned from the last one as well. That's not necessarily the way to approach it.
Yeah, the last one, I feel like they had to prove us right in terms of like, they needed to do the certain things, which they didn't do. And this time they need to prove us wrong, because I think all of us as Battlefield fans, I'd say maybe most of us as Battlefield fans or Battlefield creators or people that are just into the first-person shooter world, we now have an understanding of, hey, we've heard this before. Battlefield 2042 also looked at this good beforehand, and they were saying similar things. This is the foundation for Battlefield, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be a return to a near future shooter, modern warfare, blah, 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 blah. Insert buzzword, blah, blah, blah. We've heard all of this before, And I think all of us as a game industry right now is in a very volatile state. There is a level of distrust that people have towards these companies. A lot of things are changing and progressing very quickly in certain areas, very slowly in other areas, and people are holding these companies much more responsible than I think there has been in the near past. So there is an opportunity for expectations are high, but also the expectations for them to deliver something quality is even higher.
Yeah, 100%. I think like I said, I just think the fact that they've had multiple in a row, it just puts so much more pressure on them. Like after Battlefield 5, I didn't think that there was pressure on 2042 because I just thought, okay, like that one was just a bit of a miss. And even then, by the end of it, I enjoyed Battlefield 5. So it wasn't even like we weren't in a dire situation. And so that for me, there was like no pressure. It was kind of like, that one was a miss. And then this one, they'll get it back on course. Mm-hmm. And then that's how crucial 2042 was, that now it's gone from, well, the last game was just a bit of a miss, to now the standing of DICE is, oh, hang on, do they know how to make Battlefield anymore? Like it's really changed.
Do they even remember?
Yeah, like it's drastically changed how we look at them, because I didn't think about DICE that way in Battlefield 5's time frame, because not only that, but they'd also had Battlefront 2 that was, they'd turned that around as well. So by the end of those games, that was 2020 when both of them got cancelled. I think DICE was in good standing. It was like, okay, they both launched rough. 2017 and 18 was a tough period, but we're back in a good spot now. Now it's just not like that. They do need to. I think Ripple Effect have been. They're fine. They've really done nothing that has made me think, oh, they can't do their job properly. I will say Portal was maybe a bit underwhelming, but like they've proven for time and time again that they're usually the ones who actually like fix Battlefield, I guess.
They're the developers that are fixing all of DICE's problems. Yeah. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that DICE as a company has failed at is the responsibility for their actions. Because DICE, typically, they have a large team that builds the game itself, and then they have a smaller team, what was once called DICE LA, that ran the live services of these games, continuing to pump out the content that was partially developed by the full team during the full development, and then post-launch content. They did most of that, as well as most of the bug fixes. So historically, DICE would launch a game that was subpar. I'm looking at you, 2015 Battlefront, Battlefield 5, Battlefront 2, Battlefield 2042, like all of these past examples, DICE as the company would be the ones that would build the full structure. And then we would see DICE LA, now Ripple Effect, that would fix the game and make it into a game that people came to respect or enjoy.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, and we're obviously going to get into that a bit as well, there seems like there has been a bit of a restructuring as well with the whole Battlefield Studios thing that they've announced, where it does what they talked about each studio actually working on. It does seem like DICE is I guess what they're working on is going to be fairly different than what we've seen in the past, which I think is a good thing. I still have a lot of respect for DICE, and I think they're still a good studio. And I do think 2042 was a bit of a rough, as much as they are to them and EA are to blame for the game. I also just think that was a rough time, man. Like COVID was out, and they launched it on so many different platforms, and the whole Frostbite engine thing that, that I guess drama around no one knew how to freaking operate it and stuff. I think that makes DICE look worse than they are. So I still don't think lowly of them or anything like that, but I do think that taking a bit of pressure off them is a good thing, because I think they need to sort of build themselves back up. And this is the perfect way to do it, by bringing on other teams that they're all proven as well. And just having so many teams on one game, that if we can just go back to the basics and just make it a simple game, and just restore a bit of faith and restore them knowing what Battlefield is. I think that's something that got lost in 2042, is they just strayed too far from what we know Battlefield to be. So I think, I just think that this new approach that they seem to have, again, it could all just be for show. We don't know is actually going on, and they could just be, this could all be PR for us to be excited and that nothing's changed. I don't know, but based on what they have said, I have to believe the stuff they said, that, you know, who this team's working on this thing and whatever. Based on that, I think the new approach is the right way to do it until we can see that DICE are ready to like handle Battlefield as the main studio again.
Yeah, I think DICE has been slowly but surely becoming like a ghost of its former self, really. Like, there was such respect for the studio, and it's very... I would like to say quickly lost that, but it's very slowly lost that, like over the past, like honestly, close to a decade. Like Battlefield 1 came out almost 10 years ago. And there is a level of respect that they built from Battlefield 3 and 4, which, to be honest, also had pretty rough launches. So they don't necessarily have like a squeaky clean, like there's never been a DICE game that has like released without any clear problems. Maybe Battlefield 1942, I don't know, or like there's a level of inconsistency across the board that I think really came to a head when we look at 2042. Now that people have a lot more built up in terms of like there's a strong history of people playing Battlefield and what Battlefield should be, and also the rest of the industry has also changed quite dramatically. You now have the introduction of the Battle Pass, the live service model. You also have Battle Royales. You have free-to-play shooters. You have like so much more competition and so much more variety in the first-person shooter space. And DICE seemed to have been caught up in the hype around live service and this kind of like Call of Duty-esque model without really understanding the core of what Battlefield is and why Call of Duty does so well, and also Battlefield space in the first-person shooter market. Because I think that with Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4 and Battlefield 1, and to an extent Battlefield 5, it really set the precedent around destruction. And I add Battlefield 5 in there specifically around the kind of like reinforcement, like armament building side of things.
Yeah.
Because that was an innovation added to Battlefield 5. And then you have the behemoth systems in Battlefield 1. You also have the destruction of all these, like Battlefield 5 had incredible destruction. Like you could destroy entire buildings on the map. Yeah. And that was something that people really loved. It's a level of unique qualities that when you think of Battlefield, you think of big immersive experiences. And I'm not saying big from like a map stand base. I mean, it just feels like you are in a larger war. And I think that's what they looked at Battlefield 2042 and said, big just means we need 128 players and biggest maps ever in history. It's like, no, that's not what we mean when we say big immersive experience.
Yeah.
And then they just missed out. And like, when I think of Battlefield, I think big immersive experience, incredible destruction, and a level of community that isn't really found in other systems. And in Battlefield 2042, they killed all three of those.
Yeah, 100%. That's sort of what I was getting at before. It just feels like they lost, or they became like disconnected with what Battlefield is. And it just became pretty much just a kind of generic shooter. Still unique enough in that it's not Call of Duty. 2042 is very different from COD or Halo or whatever, but it didn't feel like a Battlefield game. And the perfect example of that is actually that Delta Force game that is out right now, where people seem to be pretty happy with that game. People are talking about it a lot. It seems like it's doing all right. That game is legitimately a carbon copy, like Chinese knockoff of 2042, which is crazy because it's getting a lot of praise, and yet it's not like, I don't think it's worthy of that, because we all knocked 2042 for being that, and now that game's getting praise for it. But the difference is that isn't Battlefield. That's just some generic, that is literally the definition of a generic Chinese shooter. It's made by a Chinese studio that they're just like, they're almost like infiltrating the gaming industry at the moment with, don't get me wrong, a lot of really good games. You look at like Black Myth Wukong last year and stuff, but it is a very, it looks, I've seen gameplay of it where I go like, that is literally 2042. And that is the perfect example of what was wrong with 2042, is that it looks like a game that is just some new sort of almost random Chinese developer have put out a shooter, and is competing with 2042. In fact, it arguably looks slightly better than it, and that's how lost they got with that game. So
yeah,
I just think that's the key thing. That's probably what both of us have been saying to this whole time, that they need to just get back to the identity of Battlefield, because that alone will carry the game. If you make a game feel very much like Battlefield, it's going to be a pretty good game. Like the ones that feel like Battlefield are all good. It's the ones that have strayed a bit in Battlefield 5 and 2042 that, and even you could count Hardline a little bit in there too, where that wasn't a bad game. It was just different, and it didn't, it wasn't as big as the rest. The ones that feel different and just not like Battlefield, they just don't tend to do well. And that's because I think we as a community just really know what we want. We want that typical Battlefield gameplay, and hopefully that's what they deliver. The gameplay they showed looked good. It's obviously 10 seconds. We can't judge too much of that, but like it looked like
the
Battlefield
vibes
3
are
remastered.
there.
Yeah, that's the thing for me, why I'm a bit more optimistic having seen that. I know it sounds crazy to say, oh, I saw 10 seconds of gameplay and now I think it's going to be good, because that's like not how to look at it. But my issue with 2042 is that it was just so different. The game as a shooter is fine. I have never really... obviously, it launched poorly. Like, it had a lot of issues. But once it's fixed up, which that's just a typical Battlefield thing, they never launch well. Once we got I guess you'd say the finished article, it's not a bad shooter. I'd give it a 7.5 out of 10. It's fine. It's just not Battlefield. This gameplay that they showed looked like Battlefield 3. So I know they can make a good shooter with nice gameplay and it looks pretty and all that, and I know they can do that even when they're bad games. I just want it to feel like Battlefield, and that what we saw, the map design, the just aesthetic of it looked like it. That genuinely, if you showed me that and said, oh my god, someone leaked a Battlefield 3 remastered or remake trailer, I would believe that. I would genuinely look at that and go, oh my god, we're getting a remake of Battlefield 3. That is literally what it looked like to me. So I think that's why I'm...
Well, the soldiers look like soldiers now instead of like peacocks.
Yeah, it literally just looked like the campaign of Battlefield 3. You're in what we can assume is somewhere in the Middle East based on like the stuff on the signs and all that. Like, it just looks like we are in an actual war that makes sense. Like, fighting over random islands for a rocket doesn't, to me, make that much sense. Do you know what I mean? That's not a pivotal location, whereas like a war in the Middle East, that's something that we see so much in movies and stuff. That feels like a war, and that's what we want, man. That's what we just want, something that feels realistic. And it definitely looked, again, the gameplay could be terrible. We don't know. We can't base anything off that 10 seconds, but just the aesthetic and the vibe and the feeling of it, it felt exactly what I want. You and I have been crying out for, give us urban maps, give us maps where we're running through war-torn cities and stuff. That is literally exactly what it was. And so that's the thing that has me holding on hope. I know they can make a good shooter, even if it takes a year to get there. That's never been the worry for me. I just want it to feel back to what we all fell in love with. And yeah, again, I can't get too excited until we actually get proper news and proper gameplay and all that stuff. But based on what they have shown us, I think we have every reason to be cautiously optimistic.
Yeah, we actually have urban maps.
Insane. It's been like 15 years, I reckon, since we've had some.
Yeah, it literally, honestly, probably since Battlefield 4 that we haven't seen this level of like housing density. There was a couple in Battlefield 5, but a lot of those maps were really, really open. And it's World War II, it's whatever. I can't blame them for that. That's how that war was. But yeah, Battlefield 4 was the last game that we actually ran through cities and like there's buildings everywhere and stuff. Like, bring me back to that, please. Yeah, it actually looks like a real war zone rather than this like pristine Lego land of like Battlefield 2042. Yeah. Like even after they added the shipping containers literally everywhere, it still looks like, oh, look, it's the Walmart model of like a war zone where it's kind of gone through several layers of bureaucracy to remove all of the dirt. Like this actually looks like, oh, sweet, look, we're running through an archway and there's a vending machine and there's like Coke crates and cinder blocks and there's a bus and cars and trucks and armaments and explosions and fires and smokes and trash and dirt. It's like, whoa, look, cracked concrete. Amazing.
Yeah.
There isn't 7 miles of space in between these buildings. Wow.
Yeah. It's crazy that that's all, like, that is such a big
That's how
thing,
low our
isn't it?
bar is.
Yeah, like, it's so crazy that, like, seeing divots in the road where it's clear and explosions gone off. And I know, look, they came and fixed a lot of that up in the 2042 maps. It still felt very manufactured to me because they legitimately were like, okay, well, here's the map and we're just going to put a crater here. And then, like, now it's war. Like, no, that it still didn't feel like war.
That's not how that works.
Yeah, the gameplay that we saw from this, literally every pixel, you can see that there is, like you said, it's not just a bit of cracked concrete. There's like rubbish all over the street, and there's even the buildings that haven't been blown up. There's like cracks through them, and it's war torn. It feels war torn. The best like example I can give is I don't know if that gameplay is multiplayer or the campaign. I actually don't know, and that's a good thing because I want the and generally campaigns go to that level of detail because it's meant to be immersive. It's telling a story about a war, so they're obviously going to put a lot of detail into those maps. But it equally looked multiplayer, so I actually don't know, and that's fantastic. That's how it should be. I should not be able to differentiate multiplayer and single player content in a Battlefield game, except for when I'm watching the UI, like I can see, he's got teammates, so it's multiplayer. That should be the only indicator. If you turn the HUD off, it should look like single player, and that's if you go back and watch any other Battlefield game, that's how they all look. Like Battlefield 4, if I turned off the HUD and someone who'd never played was watching, they'd think I'm just playing single player. But the last few just have definitely not felt like that at all.
Well, the last one didn't even have a campaign, so like first red flag. But yeah, now that we're like 20 minutes into the podcast episode, let's talk about exactly what happened. Most people already know. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably already know, but I do want to add the context here. They've got 4 studios, Criterion, DICE, Ripple Effect, and Motive, that are all working on the next Battlefield underneath the banner of Battlefield Studios, which is just kind of like a nice rebrand, so not everything's built off of like DICE's bad reputation. Let's be honest, that's exactly why they're doing this. They're also trying to market as a new beginning for Battlefield. They say to make our dreams for Battlefield a reality, we had to think bigger. We rallied 20 plus years of Battlefield experience, combined them with the best emerging talent in the industry, and united them under a single banner, Battlefield Studios. And this is after DICE for the last couple of years has been saying, or not DICE, EA has been saying for the last couple of years that Battlefield is a big part of its future. It is something that they're heavily investing in, and this is kind of like the tangible material here of like, yes, they are looking at Battlefield as a much bigger part of their organization, their company, and doing so, they're putting all of these teams on it and focusing them on very specific things. DICE is working on the multiplayer. Actually, let me find this. I have a tweet DICE is working on core multiplayer aspects, destruction systems, class play, squad play, vehicles, gadgets, and more. This makes me scared because they said class play and squad play, and they didn't do that in the last game. Do they remember how to do this? We don't know.
True.
Motive is aiding in development of the single-player mission, content, and working on multiplayer maps. They're driving a cinematic experience. This tracks because in Battlefront 2, Motive was the team that did the campaign for that game, and DICE was the multiplayer developer, of course. Ripple Effect is working on an all-new kind of experience that is really going to open Battlefield up to a whole new group of players. If I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here, it's probably going to be a free-to-play experience.
Yeah,
if
it's
I would
100% a Battle Royale. I'm certain of that right now.
Opens to a whole group of new players. Yep. That just means free.
Free-to-play Battle Royale. That's how they... I think their plan with it is to like get the... It's clear in the last few, they want to expand Battlefield. They want more people in the door to make more money and all that, and that's fine. It's a business, whatever. Doing the core Battlefield experience won't do that because not everyone likes Battlefield. The COD players don't want to play Battlefield. They want to play COD. But a lot of COD players have now gone and played Warzone and like even just Fortnite and those sorts of games. So having a really good core Battlefield game and then you chuck a free-to-play Battle Royale in there, that will get your big streamers through the door that bring so many players with them. It's free, there's no barrier of entry, and you can still charge for the main game. So you can do what COD do and have the free-to-play one, and if you want to level up your guns and all that stuff, you just pay $70 for the game. So I think that is definitely there. Like, I'll be shocked if that's not what this is. I think Ripple Effect are 100% doing a Battle Royale or something. It could be another Extraction or something, but yeah, my tinfoil hat theory is locked in. It's not even I'm putting the tinfoil hat on. It's on.
I am
it's
the
stuck.
tinfoil hat.
Yeah. That bitch is cemented to my head at this point. So I'm very curious to hear about it. Like, I want to know if that is what it is, because I'm all for that. It's just as long as it doesn't take away. I don't want it to become COD and take away from the main game. But because it's a different studio, then yeah, hopefully they handle it well. I think if it all went well, and you've got a good core Battlefield game that feels like Battlefield 3 and 4, and then you put a free-to-play, really good BR on top of that, I think we're cooking. I think everything's looking good at that point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Another thing to add is they're also going to be adding Portal to the game. Battlefield Portal is returning to the next Battlefield with classic maps. News came via the YouTuber Flagfire, who had an early online presentation of Battlefield Labs reveal last week. Flagfire's latest video, he said the developers confirmed the return of Portal, game mode which introduces classic maps, weapons, and more into the latest game. This is coming from Insider Gaming. Quote, we had a surprising confirming in the briefing that Portal will be making a return to the next Battlefield title, which we had theorized about this for a while, right? Like, that they're probably not going to get rid of that just because it seems like they've leaned heavily on this idea. I think if they do the same thing that they did with 2042, it's just, why even do it?
Yeah.
I think Portal is perfect in this idea of, like, let's bring back classic maps in a way that remasters them, puts them in their own little land, and then also lets people, if they wanted to play those classic maps only, they can, but it is, hopefully they actually empower it rather than what they did with the freaking 2042, where they just utilized it as like a gap fill. Like, everything that DICE failed to do, they're like, oh, just go to Portal.
Yeah, that's I have really weird, like, mixed feelings about Portal, where on paper, like, I actually not that long ago went back and watched the trailer. It's so sick, man. Like, that concept is awesome. It just wasn't implemented well, and I think they would, if they just do it again and just it's exactly how it was, I will not once touch that. If this game lasts 5 years, I will never in 5 years touch it, because it just didn't do anything. It's just like it's like a private match system with random settings,
but it's not even good.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, at that,
yeah, like it needs to. I don't know. I don't know what I would change about it. Firstly, I just think, like, I think going back to, like, I would gladly pay for a dedicated server it's the SammyBoiii server, and you can join whenever you want, and it's permanently up, and I've got my own rules. I can get multiple servers. I can have one server that's just normal mode. I can have another server that's, like, infected, and I can have another server that's gun gaming, and they're just permanently open. I'll pay for that. I don't care. Most people, well, not most people, but, like, a lot of people in the community would pay for that, because we've seen evidence of that in the previous games. They used to do that. And that's where I think Portal would be great, where you can just completely make your own game in Battlefield, almost the way that, like, Fortnite has allowed that, where you can just literally make whatever you want. Like, that's a great idea, but the implementation was so poor that it was just, okay, here's the main game. And then if you want to, you can go to this other, like, browser within the game and just make your own settings, and then join a lobby with 0 people in it and wait and hope that they join. It's just it just did not ever pick up. And I think if they do it again in that same way, it's pointless. So I'm a bit nervous about it. I don't want them to waste time. I'd rather that team be working on the main experience, to be honest. Unless they can do it properly, which I don't know how they do. I don't know if they do that with, like, paid servers and yeah, I don't know. But even then, with what you said about bringing back old maps, I'm all for that. I would love to play some old maps. Do that in the freaking
I would
main
love
game.
because
like why can't we?
Yeah.
COD does that all the time, and it's people love that. If you have
look at freaking
10 maps in the
Nuketown
game at
all
launch,
the time, it's busy.
Yeah, exactly. If they launch this game with 10 maps, right, and 9 of them are completely new, and we get Siege of Shanghai as one of the maps, people will love that. The next season, let's just maybe this is wishful thinking, but let's say we get 2 maps per season. We get 1 new map, and then we get a freaking back to Karkand or whatever, like some old map. People will love that, and I don't see any reason it can't be in the main game. In fact, they have done that before. I'm pretty sure there was what was it in Battlefield 4? There was one map that was in Battlefield 3 as well. I want to say maybe Operation Firestorm, or I can't remember. Or even like Metro. Metro has been in multiple. Like, so I don't see why they don't do that. So yeah, for me, Portal isn't needed for that. If that's the way that they're going to do it, then hopefully they do it properly. But yeah, I'm actually, as much as I love the idea of Portal, I'm skeptical as to kind of what is the point of it personally.
Yeah, I think if it's just there to be the scapegoat and kind of just band-aid on things, and just don't do it.
Yeah.
If you're going to actually do something with it, and you're going to continue to, let's just say, hey, I think the clearest example of like where Battlefield Portal failed with 2042 is like we never got any like further content. Like where's the Battlefield 4 maps? Where's the Battlefield 1 maps? Battlefield 5? Like I would love to see it be like its own kind of experience within that side of things. Like, have you tried to play Battlefield 1 online recently? It's super hard. Like everyone, like there's not many big lobbies or anything like that.
A lot of cheats.
It's really hard to get in.
Like
yeah. So having these maps remade and put on this, I think would be great. But it does beg the question of like, why can't I play like this in the main game? Like why can't I expand into the full experience? Why does there have to be this delineation between this? Like honestly, in my opinion, I think it would have worked better if Battlefield Portal was the live service free to play experience of 2042, because I think like get in, you play the nostalgia experience, and then it leads you getting into the full game. But yeah, I if they're gonna do something like this, do it good or don't do it at all, and hopefully they get to do it really well. Portal or Ripple Effect, they're working on something new to this, open a new realm of like people to Battlefield, definitely battle royale, free to play thing. So we'll see what ends up happening. It is weird because I think Portal is good, but also like you, I'm torn on like, what's the point of it? Like, really, is it just going to take away focus? Is it going to be this kind of like Band-Aid kind of thing? So
yeah,
we'll see.
Yeah, that's my concern. If they do it how I thought that they would do it in 2042, where like that for me, that was the best trailer. I saw that trailer and went, oh my god, like that's all I'm going to play. I'm just gonna do the whole. I remember that bit where one team had the defibs and the other team had knives. I was like, that type of stuff is literally all I'm ever going to play. Like that looks so fun, and I don't reckon I literally like never touched Portal other than there was a few. I think that
it's so funny
weapons in there.
My first experience with Battlefield 2042 is just Portal.
I do remember that.
Because like for the first couple of weeks, I was just playing 1942 like all the time.
Yeah. And that's the thing though. That's what I mean. If they can do it properly, and I almost actually think do it, but don't do it at launch. Like bring it in 6 months in or something. But again, if they do that properly and they go, all right, like here's the base game. You just get the game itself and the campaign. That's all we have at launch. 3 months later, we get the BR or whatever this free thing is. And 12 months later, we get Portal. And oh my god, we get to go back and play Battlefield 1 maps and Battlefield 1 weapons and all that. And it's dedicated servers. So they're almost bringing those actual games. Like there's no point ever playing Battlefield 1 ever again because you just play it inside of this new Battlefield. Which is, again, why I think they should just call it Battlefield. This should just be called Battlefield because they can do that with Portal, provided, again, they do it properly. It's going to take a lot of work to bring so much content, and, yeah, you've got to have the structure around like persistent servers that people can hire and all that sort of stuff. But imagine that, like a year into the game, oh my god, Battlefield 1 like season has dropped, and we get a big Battlefield 1 inspired map for the Battle Royale, and Portal gets like 5 Battlefield 1 maps and a bunch of weapons and stuff. That would be elite. Like that's where I think
that's how you do it.
Yeah, that's how it could be done so well. Now, again, I think that's wishful thinking. I just think that's too much work. But yeah, if all goes well, it could be a great thing. It's just that I'm just skeptical how they're gonna do it any different. I just don't see any way they'll do it differently from the first game. And if it is just a carbon copy of that, just delete it, man. Just go work on the main game. We need the main game. I don't care how good the rest of it is. I don't care if the Battle Royale sucks and it's the worst thing ever. If the main game's good, that's all that matters to me for this one. Moving forward, sure, we can try to implement new stuff in the next Battlefield game and stuff, but this one we just need a good Battlefield Conquest Rush experience first and foremost. And I don't want Portal to take away from that, only for it to be incredibly mid again. Like if it's mid and then the main game kind of sucks, I know I'm going to be just thinking, come on, guys, why did you waste all that time on Portal when we could have... That's a whole extra studio that could have worked for 3 to 4 years on this game. That could take it from like a 7 to a 9 out of 10 if you have a whole extra studio working on it.
And like you put that perfectly. The biggest problem that I have with Portal is the fact that they utilized it to not put any more new game modes in the main game. Like they need to not do that. Like they need not to have like why is the way that we first got Rush in freaking Battlefield 2042, why is that through Portal? That should just be in the game proper. I shouldn't have to go find a server and then hopefully there's people in that server and hopefully they didn't change all the pistols to knives in that server and hopefully they did this, and what if Battlefield doesn't have the server that I want, and like there's all these things that Portal does very poorly for this experience. And I hope that there is a level of understanding of putting the modes in the main game instead of relying on Portal to be this kind of scapegoat thing that DICE can just do on the side and not really care about.
Yeah. I even think like the way it's set up, where it had like all out, like I remember when it first launched, I think it initially or eventually they
had 3 tabs.
Yeah, there was the all out warfare, Portal, and Hazard Zone. That to me is just not the way to do it. You're instantly separating your player base, because people, first and foremost, like 90% of players of any game are casual, and they just go, well,
whatever the default is.
My cursor is already on All Out Warfare, so that must be the main one. I'll just play that. That is literally... I know that makes... It sounds like I'm saying people are dumb or something. No, that's just how people... They log on the game, just got home from work. They don't care about diving into the nitty-gritty. They just go, I want to get into a match and play. So
there's a strength in the default.
Yeah, exactly. So I think the way that it should be done is that you have just the core... We don't separate into All Out Warfare and whatever. Just have Battlefield as its own thing. I think it's fine having a different tab for like a Battle Royale. That's whatever. But have it all in just the one game, so I don't have to go to a different... It's almost like I went to a different game to play Portal. And when I go into the server browser, so I can click Quick Play, which just puts me into a official DICE Conquest server or Rush or whatever, right? That's the Quick Play option for the casual player base that just wants to play a game. They don't care about the mode, they don't care about anything, they just want to play. Then there should be the server browser option, like there has been in every Battlefield except for 2042. And in there, it should just have regular DICE servers, official servers that are run by DICE, like it used to in the past. And then anything that is made by the community is tagged as a Portal server. And that is it. That is the only thing that Portal should be. It shouldn't be a different mode. It shouldn't be a different whatever. It's just official servers or Portal servers. And still have the website where you go and you make your Portal experience. The way they did all that was fine. but it shouldn't be this separate thing because people just didn't. The servers were dead, man. I literally could never join Portal servers. They were all dead because people have to go into this whole other like hidden tab of the game. No one wants to do that. So just having it in the server browser where it's all just with the rest of the stuff. If you search for Conquest, if you change your filters like every other Battlefield game, it pops up and it's got just a big mixed bag of all the Conquest servers in your region or whatever filters you've set, right? And it has a clear tag like it has in the past where it says it's like hashtag DICE, like it's an official server, and says all the info about that mode. And then the one under that, it could be a random Portal server that's fully populated as well, and it just says hashtag Portal or whatever. And that, to me, that's just the only way that they should do it. And Portal should just be their version of the paid dedicated servers, like rental servers. That's all Portal should be. And if you do that with that ability to go on the website and fully tweak the modes that you are making freaking wingsuit races like they had in the first, all that stuff's awesome. The ability to do that, the people were making like firing ranges and stuff that I used daily on that game. Like there was crazy stuff people were doing. That side of it is fantastic, but having it separate, it didn't work. And if they do it again, it won't work again. There's no way doing the same thing will just result in a different result this time around.
I love the idea of them having like everything in the same group. There's like a quick play and then there's just like all the different experiences, and then you can see whether or not it is a Portal mode or not.
Yeah.
And then like if you want to create your own thing, then there's the Portal tab. I think that's a good use case. This is all under the assumption that they are going to have private servers.
Because that's the thing then. Like,
which as we've seen is not a given because Battlefield 2042 didn't have them.
Yeah, that's my little concern about this game is that all the stuff we've seen and heard sounds good. I'm just concerned they're still going to go down the money optimization path of every game you get booted back to the server. There's no server browser. All those little things that are just annoying. They don't ruin the game, but they just like, come on, why we've regressed since the first one. So yeah, little things like that I'm still nervous about. I shouldn't be, but I am nervous that there will not be a server browser, which is insane. This is Battlefield. Like they all had them. And that was like, for me, that I know it sounds probably weird to some people, especially in the States or in Europe where there's so many players. In Australia and any other smaller countries, there are times when I physically cannot get into a game in a shooter unless there's a server browser. Battlefront 2, I couldn't find matches because there is no server browser. And so many people don't get into the game because you're sitting there on the menu searching for like minutes, and then you just go, well, I guess there's no servers, I'm going to quit. If there is a server browser, everyone clicks on the server browser and everyone sees, oh, this lobby's it's only half full, but I'll just join that one for now. And everyone does that, and then that becomes a full lobby. It is literally the only way that these games survive long term. And so, that will be one of the biggest disappointments for me if they don't have that. Like it's not only so easy, but it's like, it's always been a staple of Battlefield. So like, I need to hear info on that like immediately. Like, everything they've said about the setting and the vibe, we're going back to boots on the ground and like all that. All sounds great. The gameplay looked sick. Give me like confirmation of basic stuff like that. Is Rush going to be in the game at the start, or is it only in Portal? Is there going to be server browser? Like, just that stuff. That's the only concerns I really have at this point, because the rest of it is, I'm optimistic about the rest of it. But even if it's a really good game and there's none of those little things, it will still, it'll still very much irritate me, unfortunately.
Yeah, and like I think that's the key thing that Battlefield 2042 failed at, is with all of the little things that end up being huge. Obviously, they failed at some big things, like no class systems, there's a lot of things that they didn't do well. But I'd say the majority of people's frustrations with Battlefield 2042 are all the little things that you didn't think you'd have to mention to Battlefield. Like
there was no stats scoreboard. Like what the hell? Like, that was a
so
big
people don't
thing
feel
they had
bad
to
about
bring.
themselves, Sammy.
That was something they had to literally promote to us. Like,
They're like, we don't know how to do it in this game. It's like, my brother, you have made them in literally every single online shooter. Not even just online shooter. Most online games have some kind of stats board.
Yeah.
I can go into Minecraft and see how many freaking blocks I've mined. Like,
Oh, it's so that's those are the little things of like, don't just make the game itself in terms of gameplay and all that good. We need to get back on top of those things. Like, for me, non-negotiables are server browser, stats, and I think also rush needs, like, even though that's a game mode, it's part of the game. The fact they did not have that in the game at launch, that is, to me, that is like top 3, if not arguably the GOAT game mode in Battlefield. Those for me are probably the 3 non-negotiables that if they do not have those, I'm going to rip them to shreds, even if the game, everything else is 10 out of 10. I don't care. I will
Sammy Unleashed.
Yeah, I will just nicely, I'm not going to be an idiot about it, but I will just hassle them until they do it. Like, that's how important those things are. And that's the good part about the whole Battlefield Labs thing. I think people will roast them. I think people, if they don't have stats, people are going to absolutely flame them to the point that surely they put that stuff in before launch. That's what I'm excited about with the lab stuff, is that it's like they're going to get cooked before the game even launches. I can assure you, even if the game's good, I guarantee they get cooked about a bunch of stuff that's not good. And that's something I'm really excited for, is that there is the actual potential to tell them this stuff beforehand, because that's what they need. They might get 90% of the game really, really good, and there'll be 10% that's off, and that 10% is where we as fans, we aren't game devs. We don't know the ins and outs. We don't know exactly what we need, because a lot of the time gamers don't actually know what they want, and we wish for the wrong things half the time. But that 10% to me is where we are correct 100% of the time. Scoreboard, must. If it's not in there, roast them, they'll put it in there. Like, that's the stuff that Labs is hopefully going to be really, really good for.
Yeah, so if you're in Labs, just FYI, make sure that you give good quality feedback, not just this is bad, but why is this bad? Why should it be this way? If you can bring examples from past Battlefield games, do it. If there's something that you're like, hey, hopefully you guys do this, and if you're in one of the sessions and it's not there, make sure to bring it up. This is the opportunity of a lifetime to make sure that the next Battlefield game is one that brings the experience needed. Hopefully they've learned a lot from Battlefield 2042, and it's going to be those, like, hopefully by the time that you get into the Battlefield Lab session, it's the fine-tune stuff. What's the fine-tune features that need to be there? Give them that feedback. Make sure that they have it. Make sure that it's there, and be clear, concise, and make sure that it's not that DICE sucks and developers blah blah blah. If you get in this, make sure it counts, because as we've seen before, they will ignore some feedback. They did it with Battlefield 5. It's not saying that they will do it with this one, but there's an opportunity here for you to make a difference. And if you don't use that opportunity well, you're not going to feel heard, and you're not going to be heard.
Yeah, and I think that's almost a bit of onus on us as the players, that like we do now have an opportunity to actually help shape the game a bit. And if we don't make the most of that as a community, even though we can't be blamed if the game sucks, partly we sort of can if we don't raise our concerns about this stuff. If there's no server browser and no one mentions it, that is actually partly our fault as well. Like, we need to voice our concerns about it, because that is the point of it. And of course,
and they're going to look at how many people say each thing. Like,
exactly.
If only 2 people talk about the server browser, they're going to be like, "Oh, sweet, we don't have to care about the server browser."
Exactly. So, of course, it'll always go back to like them first and foremost. They made the game, so they will get the blame. But I actually genuinely believe that part of the blame can be on us if we don't make the most of that, because there's not many. I don't know. I don't know, find me other games that do this. I've never seen really, other than like the whole, I guess there's early access games now, like technically Fortnite was early access for ages, but like COD doesn't release a
pre-alpha version to get feedback.
They have the beta, which is not even for feedback. They literally, that is just to get people to play for free, and they know that people will get hooked because the gameplay is fun. So the beta is just a free demo, pretty much. They do zero actual testing, and they barely listen to the feedback as it is anyway. Like, this is a crazy opportunity for us. Not only just it's going to be cool to play the game and stuff, but like we can actually shape the game. And at that point, if we don't make the most of that, I don't want to hear people sulking about, oh, they didn't put this in the game, when I hear that no one also brought it up in these sessions. Because as far as I know, the Discord, like I don't know how it's all going to work because they've said it's going to be under NDA, but like it's in the public Discord server where I can see right now in there is a Battlefield Labs discussion like channel and stuff. So like this is all public stuff at this point. So yeah.
Also, if you're involving the public, like an NDA doesn't matter at all.
No
Are you going to sue Joe Schmo in Nebraska over sharing a leak?
First
like
day it launches, guarantee. Like content creators
look at the alpha of Battlefield 2042.
Yeah, exactly. That was NDA as well, and that was also like this is like being publicized as like, hey, we're doing this thing. That wasn't really advertised at all. It was just one of those EA playtesting things that they just reach out. They don't actually tell you what it is you're going to be playing until you like get into it and stuff. So yeah, it's getting leaked 100%. I think they are aware of that, and I don't think they can. If they suck about it, like I don't really care. Like, why are you doing this if you don't want it to be leaked? Because it's 100% getting leaked. Like, and I almost hope that they're confident. I hope that they're doing this knowing that and kind of thinking, actually, we don't really care. We're going to keep it under NDA so that just most people don't talk about it, because we might get a bunch of haters going in there and just giving it a bad name or whatever. But I'm hoping they're confident enough that if stuff gets leaked, they just kind of go, well, a little bit of a teaser for people, and they'll give us a slap on the wrist and say, hey, take that down. You're not allowed to share that. But yeah, that's my hopes for it. Obviously, I think, like I said, I don't think content creators, you're not going to see Jack Frags and stuff leaking stuff, because that's different when people's channels and livelihoods are online. But average Joe, if I get a mate who gets into it, I'm guarantee they're sending stuff in my Discord about it, and they're putting stuff on Twitter. There's no chance people just hang on to that stuff. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. I can't believe it's said in the tweets and that, like, over the coming weeks, it's going to be, like, I thought this was months away. It's literally starting in a few weeks, apparently. So yeah, that's insane, which, yeah, it has me excited to just see, like, I do want to see some leaks. I want to see what it looks like. I want to see.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm not signing up just so I can, to stave off any NDA EA lawyer people. I can be, hey, look, I found this on Reddit and look at what it showed kind of guy. Yeah. So I will be the voice of the everyday man. The temptation to sign up was very strong, though.
Yeah. Well, I signed up, but it's not even going to be in Australia for maybe ever. So I don't think I'll get in because Australia is so small. If they do eventually expand it to Australia, then maybe I'd get in just because there's barely any freaking people here. I don't know, but yeah, I'm in the same boat where I'm a bit torn. I don't know whether to cover leaks. I always try to I know that it's disrespectful to the devs. They've put years of work into this and they don't want it to be leaked. But again, like I said, in this situation, it almost feels like they're fine with it. I don't know if that's just me thinking that, but it feels like if you're so adamant you do not want people seeing this, don't make a public freaking test thing for months ahead of launch. Like, so you got to know that it's going to leak.
100%. Like you just gotta. Yeah, I'm always torn because yes, the devs have put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this, and they have a strategy and plan and all this kind of stuff. But on the other hand, I'm also just a fan. Like I enjoy, like I understand the frustration of leaks, and I understand like there's some there's some content creators out there that have seen like vehemently against leaks and blah blah blah. But that's just because they signed an NDA and they can't talk about it, and people who didn't sign an NDA can talk about it. So they're kind of just stealing their content. So you either play the game or play your own game. And I feel like if you are a content creator or if you are just someone interested, play by the rules that you make for yourself. If you're a developer, I'm sorry that things are going to be leaking. But also, if you put your perspective into like a fan's perspective, like how exciting is it that you can see whatever the next Battlefield game is going to be early? Like if you didn't work on the game, you would probably be feeling the same way of like excitement around a possibility to see the next Battlefield game released.
And I think it's there's different situations. It's not like every leak is a bad thing. For example, like if the ending of the next Jedi game gets leaked, that's terrible because the game is like ruined for a lot of people. If some gameplay gets leaked, it doesn't really... I don't feel like that... Unless there's some big surprise, like they're bringing back Levolution and we see it or something, that might be a bit of a... That's the only part that I get where the devs are kind of like, oh, man, we wanted to share that in a big trailer and see the entire community at once go crazy about it. Like, I do get that side of it, but... Yeah, I think when it just comes to general gameplay, like... which, again, they're doing this... It's a controlled environment, so that if there's stuff they don't want getting leaked, don't put that in there. If there's a map that's got this crazy thing, let's just say they bring back like Dammervan Peak and they don't want people knowing that because that's such a classic map, jumping off the edge. If they don't want people to know that, don't put it in the freaking in labs. Just keep that one separate. Play the rest of the maps. So I think when it's a situation like this, it's a bit less... I'd feel a bit less bad with the leaks. Also because, like we've just said multiple times, it's... If you don't want people knowing stuff, why are they even talking about it this early, let alone doing playtests? Usually games don't get announced till like 3-4 months before in terms of like proper, they announce them years before and then 3 to 4 months before we'll get a trailer and it starts building up a bit. Just do that if you're so against leaks. So, I think I feel a bit less bad about it when it's a game like that compared to, if it's like a big single-player game or part of the campaign getting leaked would be bad, stuff like that. But just seeing some random player shooting an enemy, I don't care about that.
Yeah. I mean, if they put the campaign in Battlefield Labs, they're just kind of shooting themselves in the foot. Like I can understand like a gameplay section, but if you're going to put any story or any kind of revelation things, like that's where you have an NDA for creators to give feedback and not the general public that could be leaking things.
Exactly.
They also need to be really careful in terms of what they put in those files because as we've seen with like Battlefront, people dig deep.
Oh yeah. That's what I mean about like don't put... Yeah, if you've got maps, if there's like a classic map coming back or something, or the Behemoth system's back or whatever, don't put that in at least until later or something, and like keep it complete. I'm not even talking just hide it from the menus because if it's still in the game itself and it's just hidden, people are going to find that 100%. People will data mine the minute that this goes live. There will be data mines immediately. So. Yeah, I just think they got to be smart about it, and that's the thing that makes me feel confident about that they don't really care because they surely know that. Yeah, NDAs don't mean an NDA to a regular human, just a civilian, does not mean anything. No, EA ain't suing my neighbor. They're not suing them. That's just how it is. There's different when it's a creator.
Jeff down the street is probably not going to get a letter from Jeff.
Yeah, at worst you get this, like a cease and desist where they say like you must take that down or we'll have legal action. And even then you could just, I don't know. A lot of people probably get away with that sort of stuff, to be honest. And yeah, but that's the thing is where for creators, that's why I'm confused why they're, or not confused, but that's why I'm confident that they're not worried about leaks. Because if they want people to playtest and they don't want leaks, getting creators on board is the way to go. Because I'm not risking my channels at freaking to leak something. You know what I mean? But my neighbor, they don't give a shit. They're doing it. They got nothing to lose. If they make a new YouTube channel and upload it and get 1 million views, they're going, oh, this is awesome. I don't care if that channel gets deleted. I got 1 million views on YouTube. Like, that's sick. So
yeah.
It's a curious approach, and I like it. It makes me, I hope I'm not wrong, it makes me feel like they feel they're confident. And I think that's a good thing. I hope the confidence isn't just based on nothing. I hope it's not like blind confidence. But yeah, the next few weeks and months are going to be very interesting because even though it's probably coming out in November, let's be honest, but like it feels like the lead up has actually started so much earlier than normal now. And yeah, we're going to start seeing leaks. There's going to be data mines. There's going to be more leaks from like Tom Henderson and all that stuff. We're going to probably hear about the Battle Royale before they intend us to. There's going to be news about everything. And oh man, I'm just excited that it's back. I know that the game itself isn't back yet because we don't know if it's good or bad. I don't know, but Battlefield is definitely back in terms of we've got some stuff
hype
to talk
is
about.
back.
Yeah, and I love that, man. Like that's freaking where this podcast started. We were just speculating every week, just talking about one topic, speculating on 2042. We had so much fun doing that, and now we're back. It's crazy. It makes me feel very old, but we're back in the next game's here, and we're going to be doing the same thing. And it's just, in a weird way, that to me is more enjoyable than video games sometimes. Just thinking about possibilities and speculating and seeing some leaks and all that stuff like that. It's just so much fun, and it just feels like we're home. Finally we got some stuff to talk about, and whether that means the game's good or bad, we don't know until it launches. But I had a lot of fun in the lead up to 2042, and that game sucked. But that fun period doesn't go away. That was still an awesome time in my life, speculating about that every week. So I think that's the good thing, is that no matter what, if this game's good or bad, the next 10 months is going to be a lot of fun regardless.
Yeah, I'm very much looking forward to it. It's going to be an exciting time for sure. But let us know your thoughts on Battlefield Labs, what we know so far, Battlefield Studios, all that fun stuff that we talked about today. Are you excited? Are you looking forward to it? Let us know for sure. In the comments below if you're watching this on YouTube, or contact uplinkpodcast.com if you're listening to this wherever you find podcasts. As always, thank you for listening. We'll see you later, video gamers.